Hi, everybody. Well, I am so thrilled. I have three of the stars of Neighbours with me today, all the way from Australia. I'm in Los Angeles. You're all in Australia. Are you all in Melbourne? Is that where
we are?
I'm with Lucinda Cowden. Thank you so much, who plays Melanie. Rebekah Elmaloglou, Terese, and Stefan Dennis.
Got it. You got it. Hey, you got the Elmaloglou, but you didn't get the Terese. It's Terese.
Nice.
So close.
I had to do it again.
It's all right, Michael. I get hauled over the coals if I ever make that mistake.
Do you?
Yeah.
Terese.
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 Yeah, like Mother Terese. Yeah.
You've been practicing the Elmaloglou so much.
Elmaloglou, I forgot Terese.
He ran out of coupons. He used them all up on the Elmaloglou.
Will I not be allowed in Australia now? Because I can't say Elmaloglou and Terese.
Well done. You did both perfectly. Excellent.
Well, I want to talk to all of you. We just saw Flashback Week, and this was such a great 4 episodes that aired. And the show jumped right ahead a few years when the new series launched. Mm-hmm. So nobody really, right? So Neighbours ended, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then it jumped a couple years ahead. So now we're going back to kind of what transpired. Can I first ask all of you, when you heard about Flashback Week, did you know what the story was going to be, or were you shocked by what the story was? Lucinda, what was your thought on it?
Well, I was only I haven't been in the show pretty much until Flashback Week. So so when I found out that the show was happening again, I was told about how I was going to come back and a little bit about what Flashback Week was going to entail. And yes, I was enormously shocked. I was shocked by so many things. I had no idea that I was a fugitive.
You were a fugitive, and didn't you? And there was a drug issue, right? There was a drug.
Yes, I had no idea about the drug issue. I had no idea about the fugitive, and I had no idea that I had tried to kill someone. So I thought I was just a nice person. It worked out that I'm a little darker than that, which is fantastic.
Fantastic. And now, Rebekah and Stefan, you were together. Terese and Paul were together.
Yeah.
And we find out that he left her at the recommitment ceremony, didn't he? He walked out on her.
Yeah.
So was that all? You did not think any of that was how it was going to play out to you? Or did you know from, like, how much did you know of where you were at?
I mean, before we started this series, this when we came back, we were all sort of taken into, the producer's office. They flew me down to basically break the news that Paul and Terese weren't going to be together, and they were starting the show with a wedding, and that it was going to be Terese and Toadie, which, of course, I almost fell off my chair. It was mind-blowing and just so weird. Like, I've hardly even, Terese has probably said 2 words to Toadie, in the last
how did they end up together? Yeah, I was like, how did they get together, Toadie and Terese?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
To be honest, I kind of wish with Flashback Week that we had delved into that a little bit more. Perhaps to the weekend where they go on a camping trip, and that's how they got together. They connected, and so to be honest, I would have liked to have just seen maybe a few scenes of how in the world did Terese and Toadie get together. But no, I loved it. I thought it was a great, it was such a shock. I thought it was a great introduction coming back to the show. Stefan, how did you know? How did you find out?
Yeah, how did you find out what was going to happen? And they weren't going to be...
Similar to what Beck just said about, having a little powwow with the producers. But they're very clever, because what they do is they feed you so much, and then they sort of reel you in, and then they go, okay, not going to tell you anymore.
Yeah.
Wanted the surprise, which kind of was. But I'm with you, Beck. The whole thing about Toadie and Terese, because it happened very, very quickly. Even though there was a 2-year hiatus between where we finished last year and where we picked up this year. And then it goes back a year for the flashback, which we're about to launch into now, which is around the renewal of the vows. It just seems so damn quick, but hey, you know, it's a soap, and we get fed the stories, and we go, all right, well, that's what we got to do, and we do it.
But fortunately, yeah, I was going to say, don't Paul and Terese love each other though? Don't they still have aren't they a couple that we want together? I don't know how Cody got in the mix.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's the drama, you know. Yeah, I don't know. It's look, Terese and Paul have always had such an incredible relationship. And it's team Terese and Paul. I mean, it always has and always will be. You know, as we said, you know, our producers, as Stefan said, you know, we only know so much. I mean, we're imagining we will get back together sometime down the line. But when and how, and, you know, is, you know, that's all part of the
unmissable drama.
And Stefan, did you like the fact that he was, you know, that Paul was basically, you know, hiding this murder, hiding the fact of what had happened at the hotel? And you know,
it's not the most nefarious thing that Paul's ever done. I don't know if he knows the character too well, but he's had some doozies time. He's you know, he's been responsible for poisoning the Erinsborough waterways and trying to kill a community.
Oh, he's done terrible things.
Oh, that.
Yeah. He's in fact,
piece of work.
To my knowledge, the only character in Australian television soap history who's ever gotten away with murder one and grand arson. Scot-free, totally scot-free. Even tried to himself up, nobody believed him by that stage. So yeah. So he's been responsible, and if he doesn't actually do the killing, he's a bit like a mafia boss. You know, he'll have somebody do it for him. So this was just another notch in Paul's belt, really, when it comes to the dastardly deeds he gets up to. But it was I think the thing that made it so crucial here is that it involved everybody else. It wasn't just him doing something; it involved most of the street. And it involved his sons, it involved Terese, it involved Melanie, obviously. It was it's a tangled web.
I felt so bad for Melanie. Did you guys? There was a lot of emotional scenes that Lucinda performed, and I was wondering what you thought. You were in the room with her while she was kind of going through this when there was a lot of group scenes. What did you think about her performance? And like, what I thought she was just phenomenal in it.
Dreadful.
No, we didn't.
Dreadful.
It was a drainer. No, it was amazing. It was amazing, and you know, Lucinda did such an amazing job, and we were all very supportive, and we really unusually focused those days.
Breaking up laughing.
Our friend Lucinda. But it was a big job. It was a big job, and I'm glad it was her and not me. She was great.
We had to be focused because it was so complex. We had no idea, and if we weren't focused, we would have dropped the ball and probably done a completely different storyline.
Because every time they would add it, and then these three came into the story, and then these three, and I was like, well, then these just kept going. Yeah. I was like, yeah. So, Lucinda, what was the hardest scene for you to do in the week? In the flashback week, was there one more draining for you or tougher for you to get through?
Look, I think the scenes that we did on location with Krista and the really full of drama scenes, like with pushing her and all of that stuff, I found that I really loved that. That was great. It was fantastic to get my teeth stuck into. I found more difficult the telling of the story and the pacing myself during that was I found the trickiest, because there's such a huge amount of it. And it's sort of, you don't want to peak too soon with it. And you don't want to give anything away. So I think the pacing of that was hard, and it was, we also got a note, only a couple of weeks before we filmed this, that instead of doing the voiceover in a studio and doing voiceover, they were going to do it on the set, and I had to learn everything. which was a little daunting, just having that amount of words in my head and still being able to get all my feelings in order, as well as remembering all the words. It was actually technically quite difficult, I found. Yeah. But I loved the stunt was fantastic. The pushing her in the pool and
then she couldn't escape her. She just kept coming back to blackmail her for money, and then Eden was introduced, the character, and played by Casa D'Angelo, and so he was like threatening and around.
Horrible. Just there all the time, everywhere. Right. She just there, and it was such a it's creepy as anything. And he was fantastic. Costa was great, and Magella Davis is an absolute force. She's a fantastic actress, and we worked really very well together, which was fun. We made it as fun as possible. So yeah, no, I think the scenes in the house of the telling of the story were probably just having the pace for those, and the energy that was required to get it all out was probably the hardest bit for me.
Yeah, and then Stefan, you were at police, where they brought you in, right, for police questioning, and there was that interrogation scene. What was that like, doing that scene? And because he was basically like, you should call your lawyer, and then they're like, I'm not calling my lawyer, I'll just tell you. And then he goes, I think I'll get my lawyer.
Yeah, it was a sink-in moment for him. I'm trying to remember that scene in the police station. I remember it being quite emotional is the wrong word, but it was dramatic for me. And that gear change that you were talking about, I hope that worked.
You definitely saw the switch, like you could see where he was at, and then something clicked and he flipped.
And he just went, start telling,
But I was so worried, and also when he left Terese at the altar, he walked away from her. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. But this is the other thing about my character. My character is he does two things. He does dastardly deeds, but the weird thing about it is, whenever he does a dastardly deed, in his mind, he thinks he's doing the right thing, not just by him, but by everybody else involved. And Paul's normal way to fix something is to throw cash at it, which is what he did this time. He actually, he was bribed by Eden, and he threw a phenomenal amount of cash at Eden to try and make the whole thing go away. And so when Paul's in a corner, his justification is, but hang on, I was trying to sort it out. I was trying to make everybody come out of this okay. I was trying to do the right thing by everybody. But he's a bit like John Cleese in Fawlty Towers. The more he tries to fix it, the worse he makes it. And that's exactly what happened here. Yeah.
Rebekah, what was it? And this is for everybody, but first, Rebekah, it was so heartbreaking to know that Neighbours was going off the air. It was such a, we knew that there was a day that this was going to come, they tried to save the show and they couldn't save the show at the time. What was it like for you finding out, when you did find out it was definitely being canceled, and going through that? Was it a mourning process for you? And then it had to be, right, for you? People around the world loved the show.
Yeah, it was horrendous. It was awful. We were brought into a meeting, pretty much. Look, we knew that, it was on the cards. We knew that the negotiations with Channel 5 were, they were very tricky. So we knew that the negotiations were in full swing and that it wasn't looking great. And then we were basically brought in for a meeting, and we were told, all the cast and crew, we were basically told that the show was over. We were really all just so devastated. you know, you have to remember that, I mean, you know, a long running show, you know, creates a family, and you know, also many other things, you know, for the fans, and you know, being a jumping board for crew members to learn, training ground for crew and cast. But for us who are right in the middle of it, it's such an incredible family atmosphere. And, you know, I've been there for 10 years. Imagine what it was like for someone like Stefan, you know. It was just, we just could not believe it. And yeah, it was like saying goodbye to a loved one. Yeah, it was a very strange time. Very strange time.
Stefan, for you, obviously you, because you've been on the show for such a long time, I was just wondering, it must have been heartbreaking for you at the time.
Well, I was going to say that probably the hardest words I've heard, you know, amongst the, I'm not going to say that in my entire life, but amongst the hardest things I've ever heard said in my life was when Adam Knoll, who's our first AD, on the very last day of shoot, after the last scene, which involved pretty much all of the cast, it was when we were looking at all the video messages from all around the world. And at the very end, Adam said, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. And what he was saying was, that's it. That's 38 years gone. Here you go. And it was, you know, it brought the entire house down. So yeah,
we had all our family and friends come into the studio that scene, didn't we? And so we had a full studio, not just cast and crew, but family and friends. And it was such an extraordinary evening, wasn't it? It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucinda, for you were in and out of the show, right? You come in the show.
Yeah, so I was in the show in the 80s with Steph, from 87 to about 92. And then I came back in 2020. So, and I was just sort of in and out then. But, you know, it's been such an enormous part of my life. I mean, ever since 1987, I've been Melanie from Neighbours, as well as Lucinda Cowden, if you know what I mean. So it is, as Beck said, it's a family. And it was, I equated it when I spoke to people about it finishing and then it restarting, as it was like grieving, going to a friend's funeral, and then 3 months later, getting a postcard from them saying, I'm actually alive and well and living in Paris. Why don't you come over?
I've been saying that same story. It's like, and then knock on the door. I'm back.
Exactly. I'm back. Let's party. And look, this show, when you think about it, it has been cancelled twice. Because it was cancelled in what was it, 1986, Steph?
No, the end of 85, first year.
Yeah, end of 85. And it came back better, stronger, and it became the most popular show in Australia at that time. Okay, so we have once again been cancelled. Personally,
and popular program in Britain as well.
Absolutely. And I think we have come back once again stronger and a better show. We've got fantastic new cast members in this show, which have elevated all of us, I feel. And I think the show is rocking at this moment in time. And you know, it's really exciting. I think it's fantastic. I'm so pleased it's back.
I was going to share with you guys, you know, here in the US, it was very similar and different, but similar. We lost One Life to Live and All My Children. They were on for 43 and 41 years on ABC. And I was so close with everybody, the cast members, like, and they were shot in New York. I'm in Los Angeles. They were shot in New York. So I would fly to New York, and I remember doing the final press junket and having to say goodbye to everybody after 43 years. So it's so similar. They got canceled. The network was like, you know, we're wiping off these shows in favor of lifestyle. It didn't track. Within 6 months, the show that they replaced One Life to Live with was called The Revolution. It was canceled. So now you've decimated the show, And they brought it back on an online Hulu. They brought it back with Prospect Park. They did a streaming version, but it was so early on in the streaming phase of things, like in 23, it was too early. It was too ahead of its time. I think you guys are now in the right time to be able to do it. I think you're in a good place to be able to succeed with a reboot of a soap opera where they weren't quite.
Are they still going or not?
No.
Oh.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's really, it's funny, Michael, that you should say that, because I said, a couple of years ago, even before we finished, and when it looked like that we may be on the way up, but wasn't sure. And my comment back then was, if a soap doesn't make, or a serial drama doesn't make it across to a streaming network, streaming channel, it will be the slow demise of soaps around the world, because as we all know, free-to-air television is evolving very, very rapidly, and what part of that evolution, I should say, is the fact that all drama is shifting across, drama and comedy, and that is shifting across to the streaming channels. That's the way people watch that sort of programming now.
Consume, right? That's how they consume it. So it is now. I think we're now in that. We weren't back in 2013 where we are now. It just was so sad. So they did do a reboot, but it was like they did 43 episodes or 41 episodes and they couldn't continue it. So it was kind of like, it was just too bad. What is your schedule? What's it like for you guys working in the new Neighbours, this new reboot? Is your schedule different? How often do you shoot? What's how is it? Are there two sets? Two major?
We've got a number of studios, because we have a really fantastically large area to film the show in, and we also have a big backlot with a lot of sets, as well as established locations as well. I think it's pretty much the same, isn't it, really, the way we film it?
I think so. Yeah,
it's pretty much, still make 5 episodes a week. We still have 2 blocks going continually. So we have a block that's on location, which is a week ahead of our studio week. So we're always over.
We're kind of overlapping the So
we're sort of over 10 episodes, I suppose, over in the 1 week.
Right. That's like here, they do like 10 in a week. Yeah. Do you, are you 6 months ahead are you 6 months ahead?
Around
well, we are now. Normally, sorry, can you hear me all right? Normally we are about 3 months ahead in filming, from filming to going to air. But at the moment, because of the fact that we're now global and we've got all the different territories and different times, et cetera, and also collecting and getting the whole thing to coincide and work, we're now 6 months ahead at the moment. Whether that will stay or whether that will sort of slowly pare down a bit, I don't know. But at the moment we are, because normally we're about 6 months ahead with the storyline plotting. So in effect, we're almost the same with our filming as we are with our storyline plotting at the moment.
Rebekah, what do you want to happen to Terese? Obviously what happens in the next 6 months, but what can you tease for us? Is it?
Well, I'm thinking, the mayor of Erinsborough. No, I don't. The governess.
The governess.
We haven't had
the nightmare of Erinsborough.
Look, I always have this fantasy that Terese and Paul turn into Paul already is, but the evil couple of Erinsborough. But that's just me, loving.
I've never been able to coerce you over to the dark side completely. You've sort of dipped your toe times, but
she has conscience.
I think she needs to go all the way to the dark.
All the way to the dark side.
I think so too. Look, Michael, I'm up for anything. I'm doing something quite interesting storyline wise, which I'm probably not allowed to tell you.
Okay.
It's interesting. It's gone down another sort of path now that I'm not associated to Lassiter's anymore. So we'll see how that goes for her. As far as Cody and Terese goes, there's going to be a few bumps in the road, some more serious than others. But I actually don't know what's really planned. I'm kind of kept in the dark a lot, but I'm also one of those people that don't really ask. I guess I just go with the flow, and I'm just grateful that I've got a job, and it's always a lovely surprise to learn see what I'm about to shoot 2 minutes before. But look, I just love working with all my colleagues, Stefan and Lucinda and Ryan and Jackie and Fletch and
Jackie. I know.
We're so blessed. We're so lucky. And as Lucinda said, we've got a bunch of new casts that are really fabulous, and they've slotted in beautifully. And I just love what they throw to Terese. She's such a great character. I love the comedic stuff. I love the drama. I love it all. But yeah, I don't know whether I don't know really sort of, what's ahead.
Okay. Have you now Misha Barton has been guest starring. Have you met Misha?
Met her?
Yeah.
God.
I spent lots of time with Misha. We were in London.
I only had
recently.
one scene with Misha. I kind of feel like I missed Misha a bit. A shame, because I wasn't in that first 6 weeks, except for
of course, yeah.
So I kind of missed me, which was a shame.
Great. We were in London with her just recently for the launch, which was great fun. She was great. She slotted in beautifully. She was wonderful.
I think she's coming on. I think there's more episodes with her coming up or something, I heard.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So as we wrap, Stefan, what would you say the fans say to you the most? What is the reaction you get? Are they like
do you want to know the question that the most asked question of me?
Sure.
Do you ever forget to limp? Now,
no, he doesn't.
My character only has one leg.
That's right. I read all about this, by the way. In preparation, I did. I was like, okay, Paul has one leg.
Yeah.
So you've got to remember to limp.
I think, and I never forget to limp, but it's called acting. But it's really funny because I think now, nearly 20 years later, the producers have gone, oops, maybe we shouldn't have done that. It does prove difficult sometimes.
No, it doesn't. You're so good at it, though, Stefan.
I'm good at it.
He never forgets to limp. It's wonderful.
Never forgets to limp.
Yeah.
Well, we've actually Chris Adset, one of our directors, long-term directors, he actually cut it off on screen one time. I was doing, when my character was being sent to jail, and I was doing a strip search, naked strip search, and digitally they removed my leg, and it was quite cool.
Oh.
High tech.
I didn't know that. That's right.
Well, I just want to tell everybody, Neighbours releases new episodes Monday through Thursday on Amazon Freevee in the UK and the US. In Australia, you're Monday to Thursday on Channel 10, correct? And on 10 Peach. I think I have that right. So if you're in the UK, US, or Australia, you know how to watch Neighbours. I want to thank you all. This has been such a treat for me to meet all of you. I could talk to you guys forever. Lucinda, Rebekah, Stefan, so nice to meet you. Watch them on Neighbours. It was a great flashback week. I loved it.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for having us.
Bye. Thanks you so much.
Thanks,
everyone.
Bye.